Ba 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 ba. Say something.
Something.
Okay, I think we made it work. I think we did it. Hello. Thank you all of you for joining us for another episode of Tabletop Tabletalk with me, Gabe James Games. And today I have the fantastic Lauren. You might know her as That Salty Ginger in the mod chat usually, but today she is my guest because Lauren also does a lot more than just modding, especially when it comes to GMing and storytelling. And if you don't know, Lauren is actually part of the Burn Bright crew that plays on Tuesdays. That their finale is coming up soon, right?
Yes, yes. Tuesday at 6 Pacific. Jess is in that. They're in chat right now. It's very, very exciting. Will there be smooches? Yes, probably.
What?
There will be smooches,
Who's
most likely.
who's smooching?
Me. Always, always and forever in perpetuity.
Yeah, but like yourself? Who?
No, no, I'm switching Salmon Domino's. Oh, what is the Salmon Domino's?
Dominoes.
Okay, I knew the captions were going to be
Salmon
great.
Dominoes. Mmm, delicious.
Sam's character. We've got an Eno and my Elron, and they're going to probably smooch. Hmm.
But that's besides the point. I mean, no, it's not.
Right.
That's interesting, but I care about that. We're gonna come back to that later. Lauren, after you take a sip from your cup, tell us
Mm,
about you and stuff that you like to do and stuff that you do. Period.
yeah. Yeah. So I spent a lot of my time streaming tabletop role playing games and some horror video games with my streaming co producer, Kiana Shaw. We have a channel called Salty Sweet Games. We're part of the Roll20 Spotlight program. And I'm also a professional game master for the Magpie curated play program where I run things like Bluebeard's Bride, Zombie World, and Urban Shadows 2, which is very exciting.
I'm excited about I haven't played Urban Shadows ever, and
You'd love it.
I
I know it.
I
I know you'd love
I
it.
definitely would. I want to play. I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Um okay, but yeah, like today I wanted to talk about like streaming tabletop role playing games, or even if it's
Yeah.
if not just role playing games, like tabletop games, because it
Hmm.
Roll20, we have so many digital games on there, even games that have physical versions just in a digital format, just to make it easier, to make it interesting, to make it a fluid transition, and it brings a lot of like variety into gaming. But sometimes like the most intimidating thing, and especially for me, like to start, I would love watching streams, but I'm like, but I don't know what the hell I don't know what the hell I'm doing, especially when it comes to like streaming this stuff out on the internet. uh I feel like one of the most like avoided jobs or like things to do in tabletop streaming is running production.
I love running production.
Who
I would
are
do it all the
you?
time. I don't know. I
Really?
went to a so interesting. I went to a undergrad. I was at NYU for drama, and then my grad school, I was living in New Orleans, and I went to UNO, and I went behind the camera. I went into film, and I really worked in the cinematography department for not only at school but for some local shows like NCIS New Orleans. And I loved being behind the camera, just in any capacity. So when I do production, it feels a lot like that. Uh, and it's really not as hard as people think once you know the tech, right? That's always the thing. The awesome thing is things like Roll20 are free, things like Streamlabs OBS are free. So it's great that there is that availability there. It takes down some of the barriers that might keep folks from feeling like they can learn it, right?
Wow. Okay, so then you were like legit the right person to talk to about this today.
Mm-hmm.
Um so right now, and we talked a little bit before, right now I'm streaming onto the Roll20 page using Streamlabs OBS. There's a couple different options. There's like OBS Studio. There's all different ways to stream, and I have this chat box up. I have a video chat where we're going, and I'll even show you all what it looks like if you've like never set this up before. Literally, what is happening here is I have window captures. I have 3 separate window captures up. There's one framed around me, there's one framed around Lauren, there's one framed around the text box. But the actual like page, the video page that we're talking through, looks like this. It just looks like this. It's just the video call with the captions below us. And all that I did was I had frames to put on top of them and just separated it out. So you can get like frames like we have above our names with like name, pronoun, you like putting the logo stuff around. You can find frames like this all over the internet. There are literally like there's a free stream overlay on DM's Guild, like a couple of them, which is really interesting.
Awesome.
You can commission people to do these kinds of things, and oftentimes people will have like a commission sheet for examples and all that stuff. Honestly, like I've even made some in like not Microsoft. I made some in GIMP.
Oh yeah. I started out using Canva, which is also free.
I've never used Canva. What is Canva?
Yeah, Canva is through your browser. It's what I used to do to make promo images for streams because I liked doing that. I would put together art that we had or free art and text and things. It's like a very, very simplified version of Photoshop.
Ooh.
Basically, I use Photoshop now, but I started out using Canva and it was great. Just covered everything you need.
Okay.
CANVA.com.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much. There's so much. I'm distracted. I will get lost if I okay, yes. So that's like there's dozens of different ways to get it set up. And then one of the other things that's very important, we have moments like this where it's like you're just the talking heads having the conversation, you're role playing, doing whatever it is, you're whatever the word it is. It's like it's not deliberating. Maybe it is. I don't know. Besides the point. There's also like the setup for the map and such. And I'm actually, as we're sitting here and talking about the tips, I want to show some of like my own process for setting up like the map of something, because I'm going to set up a game for us, Lauren. And then we're going to set up like the UI of it and set up like what it's going to look like on the stream. And I actually had asked a little bit about what games you liked to play before we sat down today. So we're going to set up a stream overlay for a Call of Cthulhu game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about Call of Cthulhu, Lauren.
Yeah. So in Call of Cthulhu, in Pulp Cthulhu, which is my preferred version, you play investigators / adventurers, whatever you like, who are looking into some kind of mystery involving the mythos. This can be anything from eldritch gods to fanatical cults. Really, really whatever you can think of. I played in a long-running game that was set in the 30s where we punched Nazis a lot. It was great. It's really, really anything in that kind of pulpy era, like big action, two-fisted, big emotions, like that kind of thing. That is my jam.
So, and how does it play then?
Yeah. So you have a keeper, which is the game master, who functions much like you would think a game master would, in kind of setting up the scenario and telling you what happens depending on where the dice go and depending on your player's choices. The investigators have skills. It's a percentile system. So the higher their skill of like 0 to 95, if you're playing pulp, the better you are at it. And you want to roll a D100 basically, and you want to roll under your skill. So if I had a 75 in charm, which I usually do, I would want to roll under 75 to have a success. And there are degrees of success. And the great thing is that Roll20 calculates this for you with their character sheets because they're partnered with Chaosium. If you roll half the value, it's a hard success. And if you roll, is it a fifth? I think that sounds right. And if you roll a fifth, it's an extreme success.
Cool. Okay.
So there are different degrees of that.
Very cool. Okay. That sounds interesting, and it sounds like it's less about math and more about just comparing a number.
Yeah,
That's my preference.
totally.
I love playing board games. I'm tired of doing math.
Yep.
That's where I am.
And just for like a sneak preview on the 20th, so next Friday, after this show at 2 p.m. Pacific, Kiana and I, my streaming partner, we will be going through all the new Call of Cthulhu goodies you can get on Roll20. So check us
Yes.
out then.
Oh, very cool. Okay. All right. So I just did something. What I just did here was I moved the camera frames. I moved the cameras to the side
Perfect.
so that we still have our captions on the bottom. And then if it was just Lauren and I having this conversation, streaming together, we it's in one place, and now we have a whole bunch of space to work with, because sometimes one of the most fun things about
It's a
streaming
screen.
tabletops. Yes, thank you for giving me like the Will Smith, the
Yes.
uh one of the nicest things is when you can actually see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the beautiful things about Roll20. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just create a window where we're capturing Roll20 in it.
Ah, yes, the Lightless Beacon. That is one of the free adventures you can get on Roll20.
I still don't know anything about this one either, and I'm interested and also still terrified.
Yeah, I don't know this adventure. I just know that it's one of the ones you can get.
Oh my gosh. So we have this page open, and there's a bunch that we can do in this page. Maybe we just want to see rolls. Maybe we have to adjust it a little bit so we can see that bottom text box in the bottom right, as you can see right there. Maybe I just want to adjust it so the only thing that we're actually capturing is the game space where it says like the lightless beacon. And so I've been cropping around. The way that I'm cropping around this stuff, if you don't know it, if you are working in Streamlabs or OBS and you're trying to crop something, literally all you have to do is you hold Alt and then drag the sides. I learned that recently. It blew my mind. Like, I'll do it live here, literally just cropping it as such. When I learned that, it changed everything, because that's also what
Yeah.
makes it easy to crop the videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Yeah, you can
gosh.
cut out. So if you don't use Google Meet and you use Zoom,
Yep.
whenever you talk in Zoom, your video will be highlighted. So you can just cut out that little section so your camera doesn't light up every time you talk.
Yeah. So then right here we have a general setup for Lauren and I are both have our cameras shown. We have the play area of Call of Cthulhu, the Lightless Beacon. And oh, did I cover my face? No, I didn't. I'm fine.
Bye, Gabe.
Yeah.
Did you?
And when we look at this, we can see the general play area of what it's going to be. Like, I can open the character sheet and everything, and it's still on here. I'm opening another window. I let it randomly generate a name for me, and it said Ovapoo.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's the worst name that it could have picked me, but
Hey.
I guess I'm Overpool Cruel. So okay, let's pretend that we're going through this character creation. I have never delved into Call of Cthulhu. Um, so I am a new player, and we are doing this as a stream show. And sometimes character creation isn't all that interesting for the people that are watching.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're making this character, I want to talk with you about what things might make like a stream where you're doing the session zero, where you're doing the introduction. What kind of stuff makes it engaging? How do you prompt your party as well as keeping the people watching interested?
Oh, sure. I've done a couple of streamed session zeros, and the ones I think that have been most successful are the ones where there are lots of questions, right? And lots of opportunities for the players to contribute to the world. Urban Shadows, for example, has a great character creation process
Okay.
where there are intro questions, and then you gotta figure out your debts with each other, right? That's how everything gets very messy in that game. And in the new version, you also kind of have a hub that you come up with details about NPCs and what's going on there, rumors, things like that. So I think that's really engaging. I also think, interestingly enough, what you put on screen for those matters. Like, do you have a preference between having the game table up at all times versus having talking heads?
I go back and forth. I prefer moments when I can have um the game table up, and then like if we're not looking at the map, if we're not using the map or anything, and we're just having the conversation, going back to like just the talking heads, because then I feel like you get back the focus on the people. Then the cameras
Mhm.
can be a bit larger. You can have more of like the face to face interaction instead of like, oh, we're looking at the map and it just says Call of Cthulhu a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool if you have some kind of image or landing page that you can go
Mm-hmm.
to. I think the other thing is having some background music is always very nice. The great thing about Roll20 is they have Incompetech and Battle Bards and is it tabletop audio built in to the jukebox. So you can always find something atmospheric to be playing in the background. But I think something important to note is that the person streaming, so in this instance, Gabe, whatever they have captured is going to be shown, right? So that's something to keep in mind. If there are all kinds of things that you figure out while you're streaming, like if we were using Zoom, and I don't know if it does it with Google Meets, but if you like minimize your Zoom or your video conferencing thing, everybody will kind of freeze in place until you maximize it again. So, like little things like that, you just have to be aware that the person capturing those things, the program will only do what you tell it to do, and it's just learning what you're telling it when maybe you don't know at first.
Yeah, yeah. Gosh, okay, so like honestly, before I even get into this character creation thing, let's talk about all of the stuff that it's not all necessary for production of a stream, but stuff that we do that goes into the stream. Like
Yeah.
right then and there, you talked about music, and music ties into like the sound and audio. Because right now, as we're streaming, I'm streaming directly my audio, and then I'm also capturing my desktop audio, which Lauren is speaking through, and it sometimes gets to be like the weirdest thing because if I have like Discord in the background, it's going off, or I'm like, if I'm capturing desktop audio, I can't listen to Spotify at the same time.
Right. Yes. Yep, that was a big one for me too.
Cause like sometimes when it's just me on tabletop, I will literally have like Spotify like jamming in the
Yeah.
background as I'm thinking. I'm like, yeah, cause nobody can hear it. But it's not really something you can do otherwise, especially if you're capturing
Mhm.
audio from somewhere else. And so like right now, I had been playing some background music using the Roll20 jukebox, but it works because it's capturing it through my desktop audio. If
Yeah.
I wasn't doing that, it just yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah. So I think one of the first things to consider before anything else is why do you want to stream? Why do you, why do you want to stream your game?
Yeah,
Like, why don't you just want it to be a home game in private with your friends? I think that is so important and something that most people don't think about till later. I know I didn't. I started streaming because I was asked. Somebody was like, "Do you want to do this?" I was on Tumblr back in the day,
yeah.
and I had
Back
read
in the
about
day.
yeah, I had read about Critical Role, and I had no idea what that meant. I looked it up and I watched it. I was like, I want to do that, and for real. I went to Roll20 because it was like recommended somewhere, either in Critical Role's chat or something. And I went to Roll20. I went to the Looking for Group forum, and I found my first party there.
Mm-hmm.
We played together for a year and a half.
Wow.
And I started streaming alongside that, right? I was asked. I'm a performer. That's what I trained in. It is something that I love. So being able to have this outlet of performing is probably why I still do it. But I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
valid question. Like, ask yourself, why do I want to stream this? And because as soon as you put a camera on someone, it's different, right? Um, I think that is very true. As soon as you start streaming your game, even if you're doing it with your closest friends, there
Mm-hmm.
is that element of performance
Yeah.
uh,
That's
because there's an audience, because there's a camera.
That's true. That's a good point, because you could just want to put on a show. You could want to play with your friends and put on a show, and it's all important stuff to think about. Especially because it might change how you approach it. It might change how much of it is just like for fun, or like it might literally just be like, we just want to play this game together and then share with people, and that's like, that in itself is an answer.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good question. I the first show that I joined, someone had just asked me to join, and I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, sure. I guess people stream this stuff online. Yeah, sure. And then I'm like, whoa, this is a thing that so many people do. And I remember the first
Mhm.
time that I ran production, and it was like the intimidation of like, well, I want to share this story with people. Um, and that was like the only reason that I even really wanted to do the show. It was like, I know that I want to do this, but I think it'll be cool if I can share this experience and idea with other people. That's why I want to stream this thing. And knowing that going into it, it also like set a precedent for like how much effort I feel like I was putting into it, and like how serious I was about making it all come together.
Yeah, because I think you will find that you make different choices based on what your goals are.
Yeah.
Like if your goal is to stream as a profession, which is awesome, go for it. I think that just there's a difference, and it's good to be honest with the people that you're doing it with,
Yeah.
right? That who are helping you achieve that goal. And if your goals align, great. If not, that's okay. And everybody, like you said, finds the party for them, finds the streaming group for them. But having a goal, even if it's just like a short term one in mind, I think really helps you decide how far, down the rabbit hole of streaming that you want to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Why do you want to stream this game? Any game. The second is what game, right? What game and who do you want to play with? And you've done some great videos on this already. Um, I guess my advice with that is pick a game that you know first, like the first time you do it, pick a game that you know. Uh, just helps, since it is a performance, it helps you not have to, be your head in the book and looking through things, looking up rulings. Um, yeah, that would be my advice on that.
Sorry, I was playing dramatic piano music through Roll20
Oh,
behind you
good.
as you were
Excellent.
and because it was really like, what I feel like one of the biggest challenges of streaming tabletop games is the intimidation that you can't do it.
Hmm.
Because like once you start, okay, it's streaming in tabletop genuinely feels like one of those things of, you probably won't feel like you're doing it right for a while.
Hmm.
But you gotta start. You can try to plan out how it's going to be perfect, but especially with anything on the internet, things can just go wrong. So you kind of just
Yep.
have to try and see and do it. The layout for this show has changed a couple times. Originally, it was just a big old Gabe head with a caption box next to me, and I was originally using a different captioner, and then like I changed some stuff because I wanted it to be easier and a little bit clearer, or like better framed. And originally I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just do it this way and it's gonna be this way forever. And I'm like, it doesn't always stay that way. If you literally streamed with however many people you're playing with, and it's literally just like the boxes, like I talked before of just if it was just Lauren and I sitting on this screen, like the two of us, and then we have the captions below, and literally maybe all we do is we're rolling like dice or doing stuff from Roll20 and you can't see it, and we just narrate it for you. Honestly, people would still watch it. Like if it's fun and it's interesting and it's exciting, I would watch it. I mean, hell, I might try doing that just to make a point.
The Roll20 show on Wednesday nights from 5 to 8 PT is Balak Bayan Returning Home.
Yes.
With Stir Friday Night, but there's I don't think there are any dice in that game, or if there are, they're very rarely rolled, if ever, and it's super engaging.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's just those performers' faces,
Yeah.
basically, having a great time with each other.
Because once you start to figure out the stuff that does work, the stuff that doesn't work. You start to gauge like what you want the pace to be, and I really think there's a lot more in my own games. Whenever I stream, and if I'm GMing something, as much as I love the people watching getting engaged and caring, I also want the people that I'm playing with to remember that I am running this story for the people at my table, and I am sharing it with everyone else.
Yes. So we have our little spiel, and just real quick, talking about mistakes. The first time we ever streamed our Witcher campaign, I couldn't figure out how to unmute the video I had made. I made a video, it was playing, but there was no sound, and you just kind of had to be like, screw it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just keep going, just have fun playing the game, right? So mistakes will happen. Mistakes are totally fine, and that's how you learn, and that's how I figured out how to put that video in properly for the next week, right?
Yep. So something else that's very important with streaming that also makes you an excellent person to talk to about is once you have like the little bit of the video set up, and even if it's just the cameras sitting there having the conversation, and you figure out I'm going to come back around to this point, but sometimes the people that you like, the best people for you to stream with might not be the best people that you're friends with, because it might be having a different connection or like staying on task and staying that focused. And so once you have like the group that you want to do this with, once you have the game or whatever you want to do it using, once you have the setup for how you want to do it, maybe it's not even video, maybe there's just pictures and then you just have captions and stuff like that. You have this all set up, you're getting ready to stream something that's really important, and we're seeing it so much more, and I'm very, very happy about it, is safety tools.
Yes. So my streaming partner Kiana is one of the co-authors of the safety toolkit, One and Any. Awesome. And we give our spiel at the top of every stream. We use safety tools. We have content warnings for the audience. You can check out things that are likely to be brought up, so you know if that's the kind of thing that you feel like you can handle or that you're interested in, right? So we have that going up in chat. We give a speech. That's the end of our speech. We here at Salty Sweet Games use safety tools, lines, veils, X and a no cards, stars and wishes, and content warnings, because while the characters may be put through hell, the players are here to have fun, and they're our priority always. Like we say that top of every stream.
Yeah.
That's our thing. And I think it's essential for streaming. It's something that I think is great, because you can't necessarily do that, when you're on stage outside of like stage combat. So being able to use like the chat of the video device to be like, hey, like X card, that's not okay, I want to redo that, right? Is so useful to keeping your friends slash like colleagues all having a good time.
Yep. Yeah, it's because I mean, when you look at if you look at video games, TV shows, movies, they'll give you a general warning of if like there are certain themes or something being noted in it. It's like a requirement. So
Yeah.
it's giving people that notice of like, hey, this might have graphic violence in it. We just want to give you that warning. And when you're like streaming a show, um, it's you want the people that you're playing with to have fun and be comfortable and feel safe at the table. Because if they're not, even if like you're working together, why you want the people you're working with to come back.
Yeah.
And if it's like you want to involve like maybe an NPC they really care about is going to be in mortal danger and might die.
Mhm.
And even if you like if it's not necessarily having to break character to tell the party, hey, this is a very dangerous situation. There's a high chance that these characters or your characters might die. Because then at least they're going into it and they're prepared for it, and it's not like, ah, damn, like I didn't know this was that serious, and now I'm frustrated, but like I don't know how to deal with my emotions.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Uh, my I'm working with just a summer job on a horror podcast right now,
yeah,
and we something that she does all the time is she will say, "Are there any NPCs like you want off limits? Like don't turn out to be evil, don't get hurt or killed. Like just tell me, and that will be off the table." Which is funny because that's her Twitch channel is off underscore the table. But right, you take that option
mm-hmm.
off the table. And then, your players can be comfortable like and lean into the other kinds of horror without having to worry about this thing that might actually upset the player.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's another thing. If you're streaming tabletops and you're the GM, or you're not the GM and you're just a member of the party, also remember that the person who is like the storyteller or might be like guiding the story also wants to have fun and play a
Mm-hmm.
game. So sometimes it might be interesting, like if you feel comfortable and you trust that person, asking them what might be an interesting idea or might be a good idea, because they might even reward you like, well, actually the book or my idea was like if someone did this thing there's a possibility for this, and they might not even give you all of that, but it might be something you never even considered, because you can always say, you know what, I actually don't want to do that, but I might do this thing. I'm a big fan of um you don't have to stay in character 100% to have a great
Oh
time.
my God. I agree 100%. Um, there are sometimes that can be like super effective, right? As long as it's not, uh, you know, putting unneeded pressure on somebody. But I think one of the great things about streaming RPGs as opposed to like reading a script is you get that actual human connection between people,
Hmm.
right? That kind of authenticity. And I think that's what drew me to it in the first place. I love kind of hijinks and a joke across the table if it makes sense with what's going on, and just seeing people have a good time with each other. I think is one of the things that first made me want to stream RPGs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about a little bit about like the people. So okay, so when you have chosen to stream with people,
Mhm.
what are some of the, maybe not most important, but what are some important things that you consider? Because it's as weird as it is, um, I have a bunch of people that I love playing games with, but I also know that like I don't think that they wouldn't play well together. It's just that the play styles are so different that I don't know how much we would actually get done. Like some people only
Yeah.
want to dive into the lore of stuff, and some people want to fight giant frogs.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh, interesting. So when I go about streaming, I definitely there's a combination of, yeah, wanting to play with people I like, but also knowing this is a performance. And so, okay, so think about that. Like, are there people who kind of enjoy the same kind of putting the same kind of investment into the character or whatever that I like to do? So seeing where those line up, I would say that my kind of style is to get really invested in RP, but never to let that take away from we're all sitting around our virtual tabletop
Hmm.
having a good time together.
Yeah.
I think, hmm,
And well, and it's hard because there's been plenty of times that like you never have an idea of how the people are going to like play together. I didn't ran, excuse me. I put together a werewolf game that we played. Yeah, we played the Four Phases game, and it was
oh,
so
cool.
much
Yeah, yeah.
fun. But none of those people had, except for maybe Aki and B.
Oh,
they hadn't really played together on anything.
mhm.
It was most of their first times like having the chance to sit and play at a table with each other consistently, and the way it blended together was like fantastic. But it was also like it was hopeful optimism that it was going to work out, because I'm like, all right, I've seen these people, or I've talked to these people, and I know them separately, but it's like, okay, let's hope that I am right in the sense that this is just going to flow together well.
Yeah. I think if the people you're thinking about asking played, have streamed before, I think it's always useful
Mm,
to like look. It's like looking at a resume, right? Like, what have they done? What is their play style?
yep.
Um, and figuring out, like, especially if you're the GM, like, is that something I'm going to vibe with as the GM, right? Um, so for my shows that I've run, it's usually people who have all played together at least once before, but I
Yeah.
always try to bring in somebody new, somebody
Yeah.
that people haven't played with before. Like for our
Give a
Witcher
mix of
game,
like the experienced people versus like the newcomer who wants to do this.
exactly. So there's kind of like a pre-established chemistry, but then you can add something different to it, and I think those make for really great actual play streams.
Yeah.
Um, I think that even if you're streaming with your friends, I don't think everyone at the table should look the same. I don't think you should just be playing with like all white people if you're streaming. Like I don't think that's if you're putting a stream together, if you're putting together and your intention, like we talked about earlier, is to like do this professionally right
Hmm.
at that level, I think diversity and inclusion should always be at the forefront
Yeah.
of your thinking. There is a difference between playing a game with friends, but if you're just playing a game with friends, then you know, do you need to be streaming? Like
It's yeah.
figuring that out.
It's you always hear the stories of people watching television or like listening to stories or like seeing movies, and it's like I relate to this character. I relate to this person. I relate to the actor who was portraying this character. And it's a lot of that in like streaming tabletops too. And when you actively seek out to add diversity to your table, even if you don't necessarily know the people as well, it's also opening up a door between the two of you for a better connection, potentially a friendship you didn't know was going to
Mhm.
be as strong as it was. um I one of the recently I got to play with Wally, who it's your boy Wally, and I barely talked to Wally, but I was like, this dude is black and nerdy, and he seems chill as hell. And Wally's hilarious. Like it's, and he has such little brother energy. And then I found out he's older than me and like 6'5". But it was just like I want to give Wally more of like the chances to play with like people that he might have never gotten a chance to before, or like give him that spotlight that I haven't seen him get enough of. And then I found out like he's got a podcast and stuff. Like, what?
Yeah. I when I was in high school, it was probably the first time I ever heard about D&D,
Mm-hmm.
but it was my significant other at the time who played,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all guys, it was all cis white guys, and so
Yep.
I was like, oh, that's not for me. And so it wasn't until 2016 or something, like so many years later, that I saw like women playing. And even though like women have always been there, but like seeing that really just opens opens that door. And you're like, oh, I can do this. That journey has like kept going for me. Oh, I can have my own channel. Like I don't just have to work for guys who run channels, right? I can do this myself. I can do this with my friend. I can come on here and talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So like the more you see uh, people who are like you in a like in a diverse way, the more um, you think, oh, I can do that too.
Yep.
And I think that's really powerful, and it's something that should be considered if you're deciding to put your stream out there as content to be consumed.
Yeah. It's streaming is it's so much fun in a lot of ways, and it is also super intimidating and terrifying. But when you're like doing it, like you're streaming a tabletop game, the nice thing is that hopefully the people at your table are people that you can rely on, and people will help support you in doing this. um, or if like someone else is running the production and you're literally just there as a seat at the table to be involved in this game, you're allowed to be open and honest if you're nervous or not 100% feeling it that day, or you just don't like you don't know what to do, which is sometimes the nice thing of having like stream chats. in
Hmm.
in the werewolf game we had a Twitter chat that we would talk in if like something came up. Some if people are using Zoom, you can privately message each other on Zoom. Like there's a bunch of options, and if you're in the stream, you don't always have to be 100%.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's totally fine. Uh, like sharing that again, it goes back to that authenticity. I think it's why people like watching these kinds of streams
Yeah.
is because of that. Just like, hey, I'm nervous, or hey, does anybody know how to do this? Like, it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. So I have for the most part our Cthulhu thing set up. I'm going to invite you
Mhm.
to the game so that you can actually
Okay.
see it and everything, because I realize that might be a smart choice. I'm going to send it to you on Discord, in that Discord chat. All right, and then I will show the rest of all of you. So right here, what I've done is I have our camera set up. I don't have any frames. Frames are awesome. Frames help to add the name, character, or player pronouns. You can even add little extra stuff to it. I don't have all that up right now, but we can even go into adding in that stuff. And I have the game board essentially open, and then I have the like sidebar open. And interestingly enough, this is not just one solid piece. The sideboard, the roll area, I actually separated, and I did
Yeah,
the
you
same
can
thing.
cut that out and then capture it separately, which is great.
Exactly. So that's what I'm doing right here. Just because I wanted, it felt a little bit cleaner. That if I wanted to edit the size of this, it's way easier to do it now this way. I can just make that go up. You get it.
Fantastic.
So all right. I rolled the first thing of a Call of Cthulhu character. These stats are pretty decent.
Hmm.
What's that? What's that, Lauren? What's that reaction
I
mean?
mean, you have good luck. You have decent dex, which is great, decent con.
Well, it's
Uh,
because you're ugly.
you size, good intelligence. That's awesome.
I'm ugly, Lauren. It's fine. I'm okay with it.
My vanity will never let me have a character with low appearance,
Oh my
even if it
gosh.
mechanically doesn't really matter that much.
Fine. Haha, look, I'm much better. I just have no
No,
power.
yeah, no, I like these stats and yeah, no power.
What
No,
is
these are
what is size?
size is how big you are. So
Oh.
some people of a certain size rating can slip through a coal chute maybe tomorrow on Masks of Nyarlathotep at 9 a.m. Pacific on Salty Sweet Games, and other people cannot.
Oh. Nah.
It also helps with your build and how much you have no power. That's better. That's good.
This is very balanced. Cool. All right, perfect. We're gonna run with this. So this is another thing that I like about streaming games on Roll20. I know that uh, D&D has it. I know that Call of Cthulhu has it. I know that Pathfinder 1 has it currently. And there's something else. Let me see. Burn Bright has it.
Yeah.
And it's the Character Mancer. I like the Character Mancer because it saves a lot of time and confusion. And especially if you're doing a streamed game and you want to show someone making a character, this can be one of the best ways to do it. Because right now, all of you get to see all of the stats being rolled, all of it being assigned, all of this at the same time I'm doing it. And like, again, sometimes this stuff isn't engaging, but literally just talking with Lauren about the being able to slide in, slither, all that stuff. Is power like how strong I am?
No, power is about your mental power, your will, and your connection to the supernatural.
Oh, so my willpower is weak.
A little
Cool.
bit.
That's fine. I accept it. Next.
Yeah, so once you have your stats, I believe you pick your occupation. And that's really where you can have a lot of fun. Something that's being launched on
Lauren,
Friday. Yeah.
I have to roll my age first.
Oh, of course. I'm so sorry.
I'm 74.
Okay, so Call of Cthulhu is a very forgiving with how your stats are gonna finally be that.
What you mean?
I mean that as you age, you have to make so like your education or something might get better, but you physically might get worse.
Hey, I'm already a strength of 40. I make an improvement roll. Should I do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I failed.
Now, see, with improvement rolls, you're trying to fail the roll, so you're trying to get at or above what you have. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay.
Why does your voice keep going up a pitch, Lauren?
Oh, you know.
Oh, oh, Lauren. Well, I failed all of them.
You did. You really did. Okay. So go on to the next page.
Okay.
Gabe. So now you would choose an occupation.
What's a that's parapsychologist. I thought it said parapolologist. I think that's a weird word.
Parapol.
Credit rating. Is that like credit score?
Kind of. It's
What?
it's how wealthy you are, and
Oh.
it's like how people instead of appearance, if your appearance is not great, credit rating can sometimes stand in for that, and people will respond to people of different credit rating in different manners. So if you're trying to get into a swanky Egyptian nightclub, maybe this Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific on Salty Sweet Games, you might make a credit rating check to see if they will just hand wave letting you in without being a member.
What's a dilettante?
Dilettante. A dilettante is somebody who does a lot of nothing.
Yep, that's me. But can you elaborate? Because I feel like that's important.
I don't know if I've played a dilettante and what it specifically says in the book, but basically they are interested in a like an area, like maybe art, maybe you're into art, but you have no real commitment or knowledge about it.
So, I guess a hobbyist.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Dang, this is actually becoming old man Gabe.
Old man Gabe.
Okay, choose skill point calculation. So again, this is a big reason as to why like streaming tabletops online can sometimes be way easier than other mediums. If you have systems that allow you to create the character like this, it will save you so much time. Because this right
Yeah.
here says edu times 2 plus app times 2. I'm just gonna
Yep,
click
it
it.
does. It does all the math. It does all the math. And I did this manually for a long time before Chaosium and Roll20 partnered.
I'm so sorry. You know what?
Oh no, it's
Old man
fine.
Gabe is intimidating.
Okay.
Choose a skill. Art and
Yeah.
craft. Paper mache.
Oh, basically, what art area are you interested in? Like, is it acting? Is it painting?
It's
Music?
paper mache.
Dance? Great, great. I'm sure that would be very useful.
Shut up. You can do a lot with paper mache, okay?
I believe you.
You can.
Yeah, totally.
Parrot pathologist. I want to be a parrot pathologist. Languages. What languages is this? So in this game, are the languages the general languages?
Yes, yes. Broadly speaking, there are mythos languages that you can learn. Like in one game, I was able to learn Nakal, which is the language of snake people, and it came in handy. I was able to charm two snake dog creatures into being my pets.
I'm gonna make up a language if that's fine by you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is it called? What is it called? What is it? It's so important. Ah, ah, I don't remember what it's. Uh, I'm picking the beatbox alien language from Men in Black 2.
Okay, good.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Choose a skill. I'm an accountant. um, Library use.
Yeah, library use is great. Library uses can be the bread and butter of Call of Cthulhu in terms of in terms of like researching things.
Okay. You know what? I am a 74-year-old man who
Mhm.
has an accounting skill, but also has skills operating heavy machinery.
Okay.
And
And
um, uh, is a locksmith.
great.
I don't know who this man is. Oh
Yeah.
God, so many numbers. What is it offering me
Okay.
here?
Yes. So it's so funny. This is mostly what we're doing next Friday with the additional stuff. So you have occupation points,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you'll see on the character sheet like there's a separate box for occupation points. So any of those you can increase to a max of 170 points, right, that you have to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And personal points you can put anywhere on the right. You'll see there's a whole different box for
Oh,
personal points.
occupation and personal. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. What's the
Mhm.
max I can put in it?
I believe it's 90 for regular Call of Cthulhu. I mean, there are always exceptions, but generally 90. And for Pulp, 95. Actually, for Pulp, I think you can go up to 99.
Oh, and it just takes out the numbers from right there.
Yep. Super easy to use.
Okay, neat, neat. Ooh, let's put 30 in sleight of hand because I'm sneaky and the worst.
Hmm.
Rifle, shotgun. Why? Ooh, beatbox alien. Nah, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Um, okay, easy, easy. All right, and then I have 170 occupation points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna count.
And those can go in the stuff that you selected from the previous screen. So like your credit rating, your locksmith ability, or operate heavy machinery.
Neat. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I understand this.
Oh yeah, the character mancer makes everything super easy. It's great.
All right. Done. Uh,
Right, and then you can go into all these things: gender, hometown, birthplace, personal description, ideology, and beliefs, all that kind of thing to round your character out. And this is probably, if I were streaming this, oh, nice, member of a society or secret society. Of course you are. That makes perfect sense. If I were streaming character creation for Call of Cthulhu, I probably wouldn't stream the stat thing. I would
really?
probably, yeah, probably not. Um, because it can get really finicky. If you're doing like, this is how you do this kind of stream, then
Hmm.
yeah. But if I were just like setting up the characters in the world, I would probably start like around here,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, because this is where you get like the ideologies, the meaningful locations, this kind of stuff, and that's interesting.
Kind of their history, yeah. And then I would let them just kind of say the kinds of things that they're good at. Like we have one character who's a medium. He talks to dead people. You know, that's more interesting than maybe some of the other parts of creation. No, the great thing about it is it's very easy and it happened like so quick, which is very different than doing it by hand,
Yeah.
right? Doing all those calculations and stuff.
Yeah, because I honestly, this is the stuff that I love in seeing other people's character creation. Like, member of society or secret society, i.e., Freemasons, Women's Institute, Anonymous.
Yeah.
Um, the meaningful occasions, the place you were happiest in your life, the park bench where you first kissed. I'm gonna pick that one just because that's cute, and then I'm gonna make everybody sad.
Yep.
Significant relationship, a feeling of regret. You should have died in their place. That's where my partner died. My partner
Perfect.
died when I didn't get to the park bench in time, so I'm happiest and saddest at the same time.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's always interesting like seeing this stuff come up. So like treasured possession, and this is the kind of stuff that like when you're streaming, even character creation can be interesting because Lauren brings up a good point. Just seeing the stat stuff might not be as interesting, but seeing each player go through these choices and then talk through them, like that,
Yeah,
those narrative choices make it fun.
totally.
Treasured possession, something you found but you don't know what it is. You seek answers. A letter you found in a cupboard or something. It was a letter that was in my dead partner's hands when I found them
Right.
dead on the park bench. I kissed on. I don't know. Oh, this sad old man.
I love it.
Ladies man. Ladies man, seductress. Suave, charming voice, enchanting eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is all coming together now.
Ah, who is this old man?
This old secret society
He's
man.
a silver fox is what he is.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. Wow. Mm.
Yeah. And so then you have your character. What was his name again?
Uh over
Oh,
Overpool Kroll.
Pool. Pool Cruel.
Cruel, yep.
Great.
They call me Overpool Cruel. I'm from uptown, but my birthplace is downtown. I'm 74. I'm a size 70.
The big guy.
Yeah. I'm an accountant. My credit rating is great. that sentence is so weird. I operate a lot of heavy machinery. I speak the bebotched language of Alien from Men in Black 2.
Hmm.
I have a feeling of regret that I should have died in the place of my partner, who died on the park bench where we first kissed. And when I found them, there was a letter in their hand. I also, people tell me that I remind them of Corpse Husband. This is interesting.
I'm sorry, I just heard what you said. Yeah. So what I would do is like you do that intro to your character, right? And everybody would do that. And then I would go, so how do you all know each other? And maybe I'd have some prepared questions,
Hmm.
kind of to create bonds between the characters. Because I think, especially when you're streaming, it's great to see people on their own. But like the meat, like the good stuff, right? The pulp is when all of you are connected and together.
Yeah.
So I think that's a super cool thing to stream, is to kind of work that out and have ideas about that. For Urban Shadows, they give you options. You have debts on each other. So you were doing a job for me, but you messed it up royally. Now you owe me a debt. And then we talk about like what the job was, right? Like what did that entail? What was I doing for you?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if you had a tip for someone who was running any tabletop and streaming it,
Mhm.
if you could think of any tips, what would they be? They can be about anything, but like
Yeah.
say I'm sitting here and I'm getting ready to play in a streamed Call of Cthulhu game, and I have my character sheet and all this stuff, but I'm like kind of nervous. I'm not sure how to fit in. I'm not sure like what is too much or what isn't enough, and I'm just like, if you could give me any advice, what would you say?
Oh my gosh. Well, what we always said in theater is that the feelings associated with being nervous are the same feelings and sensations associated with being excited.
Mm,
So, kind of like thinking about reframing that. Ask a lot of questions to
mm-hmm,
your players because they are here to support you, right?
mm-hmm.
And I'm a GM who likes other people talking more than me, so I'm like, yes,
I get that.
please wax on. Um, I'd also, hmm, yeah, ask questions, kind of reframe the nerves into excitement if you can. If you have the people there who are supporting you, they will help you do that. Uh, and I mean, I have another piece of advice, maybe not so much about nerves, but about streaming in general, is, we talked about safety tools and also like, make sure your chat is aligned with that, right? Like, don't just for like a view, like, don't let somebody, maybe make your players feel uncomfortable or kind of like trying to tell them what to do. Like, keeping the people around the table happy and safe,
Mm-hmm.
like will always that will always be better in the
Yeah,
long run,
I
right?
agree.
So I think doing that helps build trust between you, and trust is also essential, I think, for really great chemistry, right? So that all kind of works together to make you feel more secure in what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, that was very. Those were good tips.
Yeah.
Okay. So you and I are currently literally streaming right now, and we have a Call
Yes.
of Cthulhu character.
Yes.
Can you run me through a quick example of what some of that role play could be like, and then explain, like, just so people get an example of like how you work when you would be streaming a game?
Oh, sure. Sure. Hold on, let me pull up I have notes. So here's the thing. I tend not to take notes during the stream
Mm-hmm.
because I don't like when people can hear my click clacking of my keyboard. That's just a
Yes,
personal thing.
I get that.
Um, if I do it, I'm usually muting myself to do that. Um, but hold on, here it is. Boop. Get in my notes. Tell me your character's name again because my brain won't accept it.
I'm just gonna call him Silver Fox.
Great, Silver Fox, lovely, brilliant. So what I like to do at the top of the game is usually I'll have like a title screen or something like that says starting soon or a countdown, something like that to give me and my players time to chill, wait for people to like click on the link and come in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So just to have that calm to yourselves so you can talk about things that are coming up. Maybe saying, oh, ideally we will probably get around here by the end, like, oh, you'll probably spend the whole session at the Penhew Foundation, for example,
Yeah.
is a thing that I might say. Like, I think this will probably be a chatty / sneaky session. So, I mean, that can always change, but if you kind
You're
of set
setting the
that up.
tone.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
important.
So, like, also can help them to not go in guns blazing.
That's it's that communication of like you can just tell them these things and it's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna ruin the story. You can
No,
be like,
never.
hey y'all, this place is very dangerous. The preference is that you go in sneaky and or using diplomacy and then get out.
Yeah.
And then you're like setting that stage, because it's, I mean, you can force things, but it's, if people want to do something ridiculous, they're still gonna do it. So if you at least bring up, this is the preference, here's the recommendation, and then they're like, you know what, nah, let's fight the hell turtle. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's a surprise is never worth like sacrificing one, your players like comfort
Mm-hmm.
or their or even their like enjoyment. If you're pulling something out that you know or you suspect that they're going to respond negatively to, like the surprise and kind of unknown, that payoff is not worth the payoff of them like feeling really good about like how they approach the situation and having an idea of how to go into something. Like they will prefer that,
Yeah.
like, and feeling good about that, to being told, oh, you walk in here and you know, oh, I don't know, uh, the cults in the middle of one of their grand rites, like, or oh, what happened to me once? Oh, okay. So one time we were playing a game, and we do stars and wishes a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least I do, and a consistent wish had been like, I would love for the whole group to just be able to talk to each other about what we've experienced individually. And instead of that, at the end of a session, we were kind of whisked away into bodies of different characters. And we were all disappointed. We're like, we had been
Really?
asking, yeah, we had been asking for this one thing. And that surprise wasn't worth like us just being able to connect with each other, which is what we had been asking for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an example of, that surprise and the kind of cool thing that could have come out of it, like
Yeah.
didn't feel as good as like us just being listened to, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Well, that, I mean, this like right then was a prime moment of like design wise of like we're sitting and having the conversation, and it's great to have like this stuff in the background, the character sheet and all that stuff open, but like when we're having the conversation during a stream and like talking it through, it's a moment where
mhm,
like the talking heads focus is better. It's focused on us. It's not
yeah,
necessarily distracting or distracted by the character sheet itself. It's like highlighting Lauren is saying something. Let's focus on Lauren's point of this moment.
yeah, I always like having talking heads.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even if they're smaller, to like showcase a battle map, for instance. I do like using maps, even for Call of Cthulhu, where I don't use them as battle maps, but
Mm-hmm.
they're drawn in a particular style, and it really helps kind of set the tone again, right?
Yeah.
So I like showing those, but I always like to have at least like a decent size for heads, because like we're live streaming with video.
Yep. Yes.
If you see that, like I like having those, and that's another reason. You always We say in film that bad audio will always distract you more than bad video. So figuring that out is like one of the things, right, that we kind of talked about a bit earlier, is figuring that out as ahead of time as you can. And again, like people will be forgiving of mistakes when you're just starting out. And even, along the line, we have a joke where every time we mess up something, we're like, yep, pro streamer right here, and fix it. And it's like going to be okay if that's messed up the first few times you do it or even later.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
a lot of
silver.
people a lot of people are coming to enjoy it. They're not, if they're coming to criticize it, they didn't actually care about it in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Silver Fox.
Yes.
Before we get started into our campaign proper, I'd like to set the mood and tell you a little story.
Okay.
An old story and a story scrawled on the walls of a hotel room on the other side of a red door bearing the number 410. Inside that door, a muffled cry is stifled and movement can be heard within. But that's many years in the future for your character. Try as one might, one cannot escape one's rightful destiny.
Ooh.
So, for the story, a man is sitting in a tavern in Damascus. He looks up from his wine and sees death staring at him from across the room. He cries out, "But this cannot be my time." He flees Damascus. He rides his horse fast right across the desert to Samara. When he arrives, he is thirsty. Standing before him at the well is death. Upon seeing death for the second time, the man, he cries out, "This cannot be, for I escaped you in Damascus." And to death, she lays her hand upon the shoulder of the man and says, "I was also surprised to see you in Damascus. For my appointment with you, it was always to be here, in Samara." It's the early evening now of March 18th, 1921. We are neither in Damascus nor Samara, but in Lima, Peru, specifically in the Bar Cordano. It's humid as hell. You've likely arrived by boat and then electric tram. You are here for the meeting with the leader of a planned archaeological expedition to a lost temple in the Peruvian highlands. Your bags are still with you. What do we see as you step off the tram in front of this bar, Silver Fox?
There's probably a very, well, a relatively large suitcase. Not so much a trench coat, but more of a pea coat. Gray beard. A little bit of a fro that seems like it's like kind of leaning into twists. There is a little bit of like black splotches in between, but you can tell their hair is finally like taking on a full gray. Thermos on his side, just kind of dark brown eyes that look around. They don't necessarily look weary, but maybe a little tired.
Okay. As you walk inside the bar, it's tastefully furnished, wood-paneled walls, tiled floor. A very pleasant aroma fills your nostrils. And the host shows you to a table where 3 men are seated. There's a sweaty, blonde, youngish-looking white man in very baggy clothes. A fierce-looking older man, gaunt, with dark hair and blue eyes under a black-brimmed hat. And a man in tweed and fedora, smoking a pipe and smiling at you. Why don't you go ahead and make a psychology check?
All right. So, we're going to go to, where is psychology under?
It's under, I think it's under pilot skills.
All right. Ooh, a failure of an 18 versus a 10.
Would you like to spend 8 points of luck to succeed?
Oh, how many points of luck do I have?
You have 55.
Okay. And if I did spend 8 points of luck, where does it get reduced from?
You would take it out of your actual luck. You would probably need to turn back on edit mode. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it would go from 55 to 47.
Yeah, and then make sure you turn off edit mode.
Let's do it. So can your luck go up?
Yes, you, especially in Pulp Cthulhu, when you complete certain sections, rewards are usually granted in the form of luck. I also do certain things for my streams. I have incentives, tip incentives to help support the channel and pay our cast. And one of them is a roll, like on a random table that I made through Roll20, a rollable table, and you can earn luck back that way with the right roll. So that's something I do to like engage the audience and so they can affect the game, always in positive ways, because if you're affecting the games in negative ways for your players, they probably don't like you.
Shade. So this right here, we've been in this moment for 5 minutes, and it literally right now we just outlined, we had the character sheet up, but then as you were doing the monologue, just transitioning back to that face-to-face moment, and then it gives it the focus, it gives it the conversation, using the Roll20 music to just play in the background and loop it. And
this is one of the songs I actually use for the game.
I absolutely believe that. You terrify me. But like, there's so many options. You can just loop it right then and there. You can adjust the volume and all of that, and it just adds the mood. It adds the aesthetic. So even with just the two of us talking, having that conversation and narrating, and then it's like, okay, let's go to a roll. All right, transition to the screen where the roll is. Okay, we can see it now. We can talk about it. Can look at the character sheet. Then it becomes interesting and engaging. Leave me alone, spam calls. So yeah, I'm gonna spend those 8 points of luck and succeed then.
Excellent. So with a success on this psychology check, there's an obvious tension in the air, particularly between the man in the fedora with the pipe and the man under the black-brimmed hat. Some obvious tension or dislike there is coming from the man in the black-brimmed hat toward the other. And the blonde, sweaty man at this point stands up and addresses you warmly in what might be a British accent. It's unclear to you. But he stands up and offers his hand to you and says, "Oh, so good to meet you, Mr. Silverfox. I'm Augustus Larkin. Pleasure. Thank you for coming."
It's nice to meet you, Augustus. The pleasure is mine.
Fantastic. This is my right-hand man, Louis de Mendoza, and he gestures to the man in the black-brimmed hat. And this is what was your name again, sir? And the man in the fedora smiles broadly. Jesse Hughes. I'm Jesse Hughes. And chews on the end of his pipe. Please, take a seat. And being closer to Larkin, there's definitely he's very sweaty, as you've noticed before, but there's also a heavy layer of cologne over him as well. Thank you for coming. So we are getting ready to head up into the Highlands to find this lost pyramid near Lake Titicaca. I think we can find some valuable artifacts. You can do it was research for a book, Mr. Hughes? Hughes nods. And what brought you to our little circle, Mr. Silver Fox?
So I'm going to answer that. Right now, I also want to highlight, as Lauren is narrating this, just noting how she is also acknowledging how the other NPCs are reacting to each other. And she doesn't have to give dialogue to all of them. She doesn't have to narrate all of them at the same time. Just that little bit of, and Hughes nods back. Like, that makes it alive. That makes it flexible, and it is living. It's like, okay, they're all reacting some way. They all have this little thing going on. She doesn't have to have so many layers of conversation in between all of them to make them still alive. I absolutely get that. Like, whenever I'm running and I have a couple NPCs in a group, I'll literally have maybe one that I do a voice for, and then the other ones it'll be like, well, what is it that you want to do, James? And James responds wanting to do, and like, instead of like saying saying it out loud as James, saying what James is saying out loud.
And I'll also say, like, for me, I have certain things written out always, like the intro for the stream and the recap. I will write out word for word how I want to read it. Don't be afraid to like read things. It's fine. And then for my NPCs or any other things, I have like talking points, right? Like I just do bullet points and then improv from there. So you don't need to be super prepped down to exact words to stream. Just it's like prepping for your own game. Do what you need to do to be prepared, and that's what's going to feel best.
Yes. Yep. I got distracted. What was the question that you asked me?
Let me take a look at my talking points. What brought you to our little our mission to go to this pyramid? What drew you to my advertisement?
A little bit of boredom, a little bit of curiosity. That's all. I'm you can consider me a man of intrigue and charm, so to speak.
Yes, yes, I see that. And he looks to Lewis like for a response, and there is none. There is none. Um, so yes, I bought some artifacts right from an alpaca farm near Puno. Said his grandfather recovered them from the tunnels of this lost pyramid, but he was rather superstitious and didn't tell me the exact location. That's why I've gathered all of you with your various skills. Yes. So the plan is to leave 8 a.m. tomorrow. I have rooms booked for you, and unless there are any questions you want to ask, I'm afraid I'm rather tired. They have a wonderful escabeche that I believe you can order, and he pulls out a handkerchief and is really like dabbing the sweat away. And it's humid, but he seems to sweat a lot.
So in moments like this, when you are giving your player the time to basically make their own choices for what they want to do, when it's like a non-streamed game, you pretty much have, like, unless you're trying to push it, pretty much all the time in the world. How do you approach, like, when you're streaming a game, when you basically let go of the reins?
Yeah. So I generally run 2-hour games. For my streamed games, I find that seems to be about the max of an attention span without a break.
Yeah.
Right? At least for me it is. Right?
Yeah.
So letting go of the reins like that, I think it depends a lot on if you have a set number of episodes, right, or sessions that can affect it. But if you don't, then I think it's just good to have something kind of in your back pocket, like someone to arrive on the scene, right, and that conversation when you think it's pretty much over, right, like
something
the
that
meat of
makes
it
the
is
world
over.
still living and moving on, even if they haven't pressed forward.
Right. So maybe I'd even call for a spot hidden roll. So why don't you do that now as Augustus Larkin stands up and makes to go.
Deal. All right. Let's see. Spot hidden. All right. I see it. So I need a 25 or under. That is a 4, which is an extreme success.
An extreme success. That's the best. Oh, that always feels so good. So as Augustus Larkin rises, you notice a few things. Woman at the bar, very beautiful, obviously from here, from Peru, dressed smart, dressed in a jacket that looks academic. I think you can even see the insignia on it. from the local university and museum. And you notice that she is paying a lot of attention to your conversation. And maybe has been. She was there when you walked in, and you're just kind of noticing that little tells in her body language, and she's writing something down, and she writes something down after everything Larkin says.
So then let's say I'm gonna make my way over to her at the bar.
Yeah. So Larkin makes his goodbyes. Lewis leaves with him. Jesse is still there. But yeah, you make your way over to her. As you approach, she snaps the book shut.
What is there good to drink here?
Oh, anything you like, really? She definitely seems a little reticent to engage in conversation with you.
Yeah. Are you a bit of a writer, if I may ask?
Archaeologist.
Is that what those notes are? And then I'll gesture my head specifically to her notes.
In a way. And she speaks to the bartender and orders you a drink.
You don't have a bone to pick with my employer, do you?
With that, your sharp eyes definitely catch the little flaring of the eyes, the little expression of shock. Do you know that man very well?
No, but I get the feeling that you just might, don't you?
The bartender delivers the pisco sour for you. Very, very delicious.
Is that a real drink?
Yes, it's the most famous Peruvian national drink.
Okay, so you know what? This is another moment I want to highlight. So you have like a selection of drinks that you would reference, don't you?
If I don't, I look it up real fast.
That's awesome. I love it.
Which is the great thing about being around your computer when you have to do this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like I like to name my episodes for me. Like I call this one Escabeche and Intrigue when I was first running it. So I kind of like looked up like, oh, they're going to be in a bar. Like, are there particular types of food that might be served here that would be like help kind of set that we're not just like in a place that we know very well. Like what makes this place unique?
It's awesome.
Yeah. She says, we at the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, part of and you can see clearly now it says National University of San Marcos. We have tried to work with Mr. Larkin on this expedition, but he does not seem to want our help. And we are worried that he is, how do you say, grave robber.
I believe that. I don't know what I'm here for. I'm here under the employment of another group that I am very close with. They asked me to come talk to this person. And so this is a moment where I feel like, especially when you're streaming games, even if there's like, again, Lauren and I are obviously doing this in very improv right now. But if we were having this game, I probably would have like mentioned to you specifically, and what I'm referencing in this point with my character is my secret society or something like that. Because especially when you're streaming tabletops, there might be stuff that that the GM knows, that everyone at the table knows. But something that I try to frequently keep in mind, someone who is here this week might not have been here last week.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reestablish some notions or ideas or bits to the character, it can be just as good for other people at the table as it can be for people who are watching.
Yeah. Talking about secrets, right? Another thing that I strongly believe in is to share the secrets that you want to come up with the other people at the table.
Yeah.
Like, again, it can be super fun to surprise people. I worked with Kiana when they were GMing Lady Blackbird for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was like, I want to be the brother of the Pirate King. No, wait, I wanted him to be my brother because I was playing a lady. I want him to be my brother, my secret brother. And we kept that from the others, and it was fun. But you know what makes it a lot easier to actually get brought up in a satisfying way is if other people at the table know that and can like help you get there, right? Ask
Yes.
leading questions, you know, to actually
Yes.
make the reveal like feel earned, right? And feel dramatic. Even if the players have no idea, sorry, if the characters have no idea, the players can help get you there, right? You're all working together to tell a story.
Yep.
So if you're streaming a game, like share your secrets with the other people because otherwise they may never get brought up, especially not in a satisfying way.
Yeah. Because the secrets that the players know don't have to be secrets that the characters know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was asked by an employer of mine to keep an eye on this figure. They seem like they sweat more than a fruit left out in the rain, and it's humid as hell.
She smiles a bit at that, her serious demeanor breaking. Does Silver Fox have any insignia from this society? Anything that he wears or is on him that might allow somebody to spot it or recognize it?
You know what? Yes, there's gonna be he'll like flash a little G on the inside of his pea
Mm.
coat for his secret society G unit. Um,
Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. She I actually would probably give her a roll for that. Her occult studies is probably okay. We'll say like a 35.
let's do it.
No, 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 no. She does not know what that is. She's very confused by that. But she laughs at what you said about Larkin.
Yeah.
However, Jesse Hughes, who has still been here, has come over and he seems to have uh, recognized it. You can tell as he approaches and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Silver Fox.
Yes.
Would you like to sit down and break bread with me?"
Well, I'd be delighted, Jesse. Ma'am. I'll get up and go sit with Jesse this time.
Yeah. So Jesse finishes with his pipe and he has this very open smile about him, but you definitely see his eyes are sharp and he looks around the place very carefully as food is brought, the escabeche. And he says, "I think the two of us can be honest with each other, don't you?"
Absolutely. Honesty is the best policy.
He leans forward and says, "I am not Jesse Hughes," and opens his coat and flashes the same symbol back to you.
Well, this is an unexpected but very pleasant development.
And that is probably a case where if like other people were playing with us, I'd cut to them,
Yep.
right? To like give you time
To
to
process
think,
it and
right, to process it, to give me time to like, okay, so what is not Jesse Hughes gonna talk to you about? What
yeah.
does he know? What is he willing to share? Right?
That's so much fun because then it's perfect because then it's like, okay, So we had this moment, and something that I see a lot of streams do, especially now, is if there was like 3 or 4 of us playing, and if this was a moment of just you and I, there are times when they'll like have just the two, just like the storyteller and the player and that character's cameras up, and so everyone else, like, maybe they want to eat or something, or maybe they're like
Yeah.
ready, like, oh, the camera's not on me now, I'm gonna drink all this water. Oh.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, it also gives you a chance to focus on it, because literally all these are is in Streamlab OBS. You can just set up different scenes, and all I'm doing is I'm just clicking a different scene and then transitioning into it.
Yep.
But that's this right here is a prime example of, I set up this screen while we were sitting here having this conversation, and we have this general face-to-face just from capturing the window, cropping it. The captions are underneath right there. We have music just by using the Roll20 desktop audio, and it has a button literally to just loop the audio right there. I literally just click it and it just loops it. I can adjust the volume right there. I have a like a start screen, a drop screen just from a Roll20 image that started, but it's so easy to just drop an image on this background anyways.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we have like our title screen, we have captions, we have our webcam. All it is literally, this screen is, there's a bunch of different pieces to it, but all I did was I captured 2 different windows. I just basically cut them into separate pieces and arranged them around to make it fit and make it work. And we had a streamed tabletop session right now just from the conversation. And this is there's a bunch of ways that I could improve it. There's a bunch of ways I can make it prettier, adding in borders or anything extra that like we might have wanted to do. But it's to show that like it's intimidating to get started. I absolutely understand that. It's also probably way easier to get started than you think. Getting started doesn't have to be synonymous with making it perfect. I had to learn that, and it was a pain, but when I did, it made a difference.
Yeah, definitely. Oh no, I'm gonna quote musical theater. Don't worry about it being perfect. Just worry that it won't be.
Yes.
Right. You've gotta just start. I mean, I started streaming. I had, when I wasn't running production myself, I had my laptop and my laptop webcam and my laptop mic, and I put it on some books and sat in front of a window, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I started playing in streamed games. There are lots of things that make it easier. There are lots of bells and whistles, which are nice, and if you like that kind of thing, it's cool. But like, yeah, all you have to do is start. Like, that's how you learn, and definitely be okay with making mistakes.
Yeah.
A decent internet connection helps. I lived in New Orleans and I had a bad one. So it wasn't until I got up here and had a better one that streaming became a lot less stressful.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah, and there's you can stream video through Discord. People do it through Zoom. You can do it through Google Meets. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. You don't even need video, to be honest. Like, one of the things that I like about this captioner is that it shows our names as when we're speaking, which makes it a huge difference. So even if you never saw my mouth moving, if you could only see my name of where it is or hear my voice, and I'm like, oh, who's speaking? And then it shows it's Gabe. It makes the difference, and it helps. It's like little things that once you nail down the little things that make it work, you can add on all the things you want to make it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything else, Lauren?
So I think when tabletop streaming sometimes gets conflated. Is that the right word? I never remember. Ooh, with I use this one for Bluebeard's Bride. Um, when it gets conflated with like the same thing as like a movie or a TV show, I think sometimes people who are streaming run into this thing of like wanting to tell a story. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, like your story, this may be a GM thing. Like the story is never worth the discomfort or or the discomfort of your players or like upsetting them. Like still remember, because I think that is what makes what makes streaming role-playing games different from watching TV or something like that is that
Yeah.
there are, very obviously just people at a table working together to play this game, to tell a story, right? So I think always keeping in mind that the people who are around you are helping you and you wouldn't be able to do it without them, right? So just remember to treat everyone that is helping you stream. I mean, even if people who are not, but like treat everyone around the table with the same respect that you would want. I think
Yes.
that's a big one that I've learned over the years. Especially when it has not been given.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, that's a
Feel
big
that.
one. That's why so we have been fortunate like with the Roll20 Spotlight program, which is great. Like if you're streaming RPGs, you're an indie channel, like Roll20 has this program to help lift you up, right? And that was a big thing for us. It helped us like get off the ground, right? It allows us to be able to compensate our players, not a lot because high pandemic and unemployment and all that, but we are still able to.
Yeah.
And that's why having things like positive tip incentives, you can like increase the challenge, but don't do incentives where people automatically fail. That's shitty. I have very strong opinions about that because that's where I started out. Was like people, it was awful. Don't do it. But yeah, telling good stories, engaging your audience and using a free application like Roll20 is going to help get you there, right? With the sound, with the games, right? With the built-in character sheets, like that goes a long way in
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of work for you.
Yeah. I agree. Big agree. This was, I mean, this was fun. It showed, we set up a mini show literally just while we were having a conversation together. Um, and I'm so excited to see the other stuff that people create. All of you that tuned in, thank you for coming to join us. If you're watching live, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you still for checking out and supporting and watching in the comments, because it motivates me a lot more than you know. Thank you to Roll20 for giving us the space to even talk about all of this. And I'm pretty sure we are still doing fundraisers and donations for Code 2040, which supports Black and Latinx in technology. It's a very important thing. Roll20 is matching donations up to $50,000, which is a big deal. Continue to create, continue to tell stories. Lauren, can you tell us one more time where we can find you?
Yes, I'm Lauren. I'm that salty ginger over on Twitter and half of Salty Sweet Games here on Twitch. Places you can find me tomorrow, Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific, running Masks of Nyarlathotep, a Pulp Cthulhu campaign on Salty Sweet Games. Otherwise, Tuesday for our season finale of Burn Bright Against the Stars, run by my streaming partner, Kiana Shaw, where we're also raising money for Code 2040 in collaboration with Roll20. There will be some fun incentives. And where else? Oh, yes, next Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, Kiana and I will be here to walk you through the Call of Cthulhu Character Mancer and the new Investigator's Handbook that's being brought to Roll20, where you have all sorts of super fun options for your investigators.
That's
So
exciting.
next Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific. It's gonna
Deal.
be rad.
I'm there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I hope the rest of you have a wonderful day. I'm Gabe, GabeJamesGames on Twitch, pretty much anywhere else. And then I will see you next Friday. Stay chaotically creative.